Welcome along to Off the Leash, brought to you by the Racing Post in association with Premier Greyhound Racing. And what a week of action. There is top class racing almost every night, Category 1 action throughout the week as well. Probably, arguably, the best week of the year, Tony, in terms of competition racing this week.
Yeah, massive week of the sport. I think well over £50,000 in prize money up for grabs today. Category 1 after Category 1, but they're building up to be very good finals with the cream rising to the top.
Yeah, loads happening. You're, of course, watching us here on the Racing Post YouTube channel. Do remember to like, comment and subscribe. And we're on Facebook as well. So drop a comment below. Let us know you fancy in the big finals. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe. If you like your horse racing, we've got you covered. If you like your golf, we've got you covered on a Tuesday with the Sweet Spot Assist, on a Thursday for your football as well. So here all week, but we are here for the doggies. Now, as we've just mentioned with Tony there, I'll run you through this week. It is incredible. Wednesday night, £15,000 at Yarmouth for the East Anglian Derby. Thursday night, the Produce Stake, one of the biggest British bred competitions of the year, £10,000. We are at the semi-final stage of the Coral £10,000 Puppy Cup. That's at Romford. And then the big double header on Saturday night at Perry Barr, the Premier Greyhound Racing St Ledger, the biggest staying race of the year, the Staying Classic, 20 grand to the winner there. And the Birmingham Cup as well, some of the top 4 Ben dogs on show in that, and that's 10 grand as well. There's a lot to get through, Tony. You've got to price them all up in the Racing Post this week. Do you look forward to it? I mean, it must keep you up at night, some of these races. Particularly, I thought the Birmingham Cup was a tough race to even find the favourite, but there's class everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, some races come along, like when there's unknown quantities in a race, it's always difficult because you've not had anything to look at. But when you've got events like this, it is a lot more easier, more straightforward, because we know the dogs and the races are a lot more quality. But when you get them maidens and the lesser opens, they're more head scratching, but still got a head of hair, so they're not that bad.
There's a few greys poking through there, as there is on my head as well. Right, let's get to it then. Right, the stars of the future on show at Romford at the moment. We're at the semi-final stage of this year's Puppy Cup. We had 6 first-round heats last week. 36 has become 18. We're going to look at 2 heats. So we're going to look at Heat 3, which was won by Michelle Brown's Rowena Mamba in Trap 4, 23.92. The winning time here. Nuin Soley finished second in Trap 5. Untold Rufia was the favourite, finishing 3rd in Trap 3. 2 winners on the night for Michelle Brown and her team. Tony, she also had Golden Bullet 23.97, but this was a nice enough performance.
Yeah, connections must have been delighted. The Untold Rufia just skewed out the boxes, which just gave the initiative to Rowena Mamba. But one thing that Rowena Mamba's done has gone from strength to strength. Each time he's gone to the boxes at Romford, he's found time. And on this occasion, broke the 24-second barrier, Dave. Clearly a dog that wants to get to the front, but the penny's dropped in recent weeks and he's shown what he's capable of.
Yeah, Kennel been in really good form. They had quite a few winners on the card at Romford the week before as well. They also had 23.97 winner Golden Bullet, who was the second fastest. Rowena Mamba 23.92, quickest of the 6. Now we're going to move all the way to the end, Heat 6, and this saw the anti-post favourite on show for Matt Dartnell. Matt Dartnell wouldn't send too many dogs to Romford, Tony, would he? He's quite a trainer who's, I think, selective with his entries. They obviously feel like they've got one capable of going all the way. He was the anti-post jolly, and he showed why here. 23.98 out of Trap 2, smashed out and made all, and he really flew out as well. We had Fabulous Livia in Trap 1, also qualifying, as well as Trap 4. Droopy's Fiat here. All action early. Catch me if you can. The 400 metres at Romford. That was it. Good night.
Yeah, he warmed up for this event with a good win in a trial stake, and he put that into practice once again. What I liked about this dog, I mean, the way he ran in first 2 bends, he took lengths out of them down the far side. They took him to Nottingham for the Puppy Classic. He clearly not a stiff 4-bend dog. He was waving the white flag at Nottingham, but back over an easy 4 bends, boy, did he strut his stuff and showed why he's a worthy anti-post favourite, Dave.
Yeah, very, very classy. Although one I'm looking to take on, and we'll get onto that because we're now going to go through the semi-finals. Right, 18 remain. 3 semi-finals on Friday night, live on the Premier Greyhound Racing Service. Behind the red button on Sky Sports Racing. 8:01, semi-final number 1. Untold Rufia on the inside, 7-2. Coral's the sponsors, first out the traps with prices. Fabulous Livia, 10s in Trap 2. Rapido Alley, 13-2. Fire and Ice, 4-5. Fabulous Aria 12s, Golden Bullet 11-2. This is where I'm at. Trap 1 is where Untold Rufia wants to be. I'm amazed this dog is as big as 7-2. All aboard, hold the inside, and I think can make her. I'm keen to take on the Jolly, who I think's probably going to head inside from Trap 4. So inside racing line is massive. They've all got to get round Untold Rufia. So I'm very, very strong on the top, particularly at the price. I thought 7-2 was very generous. Where you're at, Tony?
Yeah, I can see your angle. I mean, on debut, you absolutely slammed Golden Bullet by 7 lengths. It's just the boxes. He's not really got it right. Obviously, you're feeling the return to red will get him out better. But I still think Fire and Ice is the one to beat. I know he don't want to be drawn that wide. I think they went 4-5 early prices for this semi. If he was drawn anywhere nearer the rails, it'd be 2-5. So I think Fire and Ice. He's 34 and a bit kilos as well. So he's a big enough dog to cope with a little bit of a rough ride on the run of the turn. I think he can escape and put the race to bed down the back straight again, Dave.
And what's that overused line in ground racing? You can beat an egg, but you can't beat a good draw. And that's what I think Untold Rufia has got there. So 801 for semi-final number 1. Let's move on to the second semi, the 819. Droopy's Maybe, 11-4 in Trap 1. Vixen's Promise at 10s. Swift Underwater, 100-30. Ginger's Prince, who was a very impressive winner, 4-1. New in Soldy, 7-4. And Swift United, middle seed out in 6. Big price at 12-1. Who do you like?
Yeah, this is probably the trickier of the 3 semi-finals. I fancied the Swift Underwater dog in the first round, and he did it well. Again, another one that had been running at Nottingham in that Puppy Classic, but I thought he handled the drop-in distance pretty well. He's not necessarily guaranteed to have things all his own way, but I don't think he's a dog that needs to. I think he's a dog that can come from just off the pace over this distance. So I was with 3, but a narrow vote. He ain't got the rails to help him negotiate the first 2 bends unscathed this time.
Yeah, brave punter to get stuck into this race. I thought this was really tough as well. Ginger's Prince in 4 I was impressed with. I thought was very gutsy, very game. Not sure 400 metres is going to be his forte, though. I think this is a dog, he looks like he's already crying out for sort of 450, 480, maybe even 500, I think. So he's one to look out for going forward, and I think he might step inside here as well. So I'm going to go with New in Solely, who is the favourite, but I think looks plenty short enough at 7-4. It looked like a 5-2, 11-4 the field race. So 2 tentative picks there. Tony going with 3. I'm going with 5. Right, the third and final semi is at 8:36. Remember, we're over the standard trip here at Romford, 400 metres. Rich to Rubble on the inside at 9-2. On the bank, 7-4. Droopy's Dreamy is 12s. Droopy's Fiat is 12s. Rana Mamba at 2-1, who's the heat winner we saw. And Amy's Gem, the only wide seed left in, at 9-2. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, obviously 5's going to be proving popular, the manner of his back-to-back wins. But I like the attitude that on the bank show on debut for Nathan Hunt. Again, moved well in qualifying trials, but trials for show, races for dough. And this pup clearly had his right head on debut. I thought he really went about his work well. If we can clear Ritz to Rubble to boss the inside, I think on the banks can follow up, Dave.
Well, the Royal We is not going to be a straightforward task. I'm going to go with Trap 1. Ritz to Rubble was one of the 2 dogs that put up price-wise in the racing post. Untold Rufia was actually the other one. But I like this youngster, this Ritz to Rubble. I thought the 500 metres stretched him at Toaster. He's got that nice, quick acceleration, cut the strides, and it really gets into gear, which you need around Romford. I don't know whether Trap 1's going to suit him. He might just step off a touch, but he'll have the pace to the turn. And once again, the inside racing line will do for me. So at 9-2, I'll take a price there. So inside boxes for myself and Tony. Let's have a look at the outright market then. Fire and Ice was the Jolly at quite a short price early doors, and it's still the favourite now. I think it's big as 7-4 still available. New in Soldy 6s, Untold Rufia 7s, On the Banks is 10, Swift Underwater 14s, Droopy's maybe 14s, 16s bar. It is each way 1, 2, 3 quarter the odds. Tony, do you want to lay or play the Jolly?
I think the play, if he's around a 4 to 5, 10 to 11 to win the semi, I think that's the play rather than taking the 7-4 outright, because he's either going to come a cropper on Friday or win the race with me. I don't think there's going to be any in between. He's either going to clear and win and qualify, or he won't clear and be eliminated. So I wouldn't be backing the 7-4 outright. I'd be backing him to win the semi-final.
Yeah, and so often we see, you know, at Romford that the trap draw is crucial. Like I've suggested that I think he's worth taking on stranding out in trap 4. Now he might scramble home, get second because it's of course his first 2 through, and then switch to the inside, and all of a sudden he's an absolute certainty. So the trap draws are massive. I'd be very reluctant to take short prices at anything at Romford, whether it be the 400 or the 575. I put Untold Ruffier up, lead selection price-wise in the Racing Post. And I think it was about 7-8 to 1 then. And I know he's got beat in the first round, but if I fancy him strong in his semi, you know, hopefully the trap draw will be kind to him should he get to the final. And then all of a sudden 7 to 1 is massive. So I've got to be still with Tom Hilbrond's runner, Untold Ruffier. I do fancy strongly for his semi, so I've got to be with him at 7s outright as well. Right, that was the action at Romford. We're now going to cast our attention to the big double header on Saturday night at Perry Barr. It doesn't get any bigger over 6 bends than the St Ledger, sponsored by Premier Greyhound Racing. £20,000 to the winner. We will get to that because we're going to look at the Birmingham Cup first, which is the competition running alongside. 10 grand to the winner there. Now, throughout this competition, it's been on the digital only fixture list for Premier Greyhound Racing. So you can watch it on the bookmakers streaming services, but not on the main PGR stream. However, my understanding is they're trying very hard to get this whole meeting, in particular the 2 finals, live on Sky Sports Racing. So Saturday night, Perry Barr, Sky Sports Racing, you should be able to, fingers crossed, watch the big action. We're going to start with the Birmingham Cup. We're going to start with the semi-finals. The first of those, unanimously on here in track 3, 28.06. 3 semis, so only the first 2 go through. Tom Hilbrond seems to be running his dogs everywhere, Tony, and they seem to be winning everywhere, and he sent out unanimously on who did the business here. Tricky Wiggles was a very fortunate qualifier in trap 5, so 3 and 5 the 2 to focus on here, but no nonsense off the front from the winner.
Yeah, good run. I mean, because Cunningham used to trap out in front, but unanimous Leon had that inside line and he wanted to get to the front. That's how his style of running is, unanimous Leon. He's all or nothing. If he doesn't lead, he's not going to be coming from off the pace, but he really did put the pace to the race. There was trouble in behind, so he was always in total isolation in front. But all credit to Tricky Wiggles, put himself in the right place at the right time at the 3rd bend and stayed on to qualify. But yeah, good early pace from the winner, unanimous Leon.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot separating the semi-final winners. 28.06 on the board there from unanimously. And we'll now move on to semi-final number 2. Again, over the standard trip, 480 metres at Perry Barr. And Rioja Bungle in trap 4. Doing the business here, 28.03. Left it late to now Longfellow in trap 3. Now, Longfellow won the Puppy Collar at Oxford last year. Rioja Bungle won the British Bred Maiden Derby up at Newcastle. Really nice time for Kevin Hutton and Paul Woodburn, who's a top supporter of the sport. Puts a lot in, loves it as well. He's quite vocal. You'll hear him. I've no doubt he roared this one home. Left it late, but there was a lot to like about this performance. I've sort of pigeonholed this dog as maybe a front runner, Tony, but he showed me something different here. Yeah,
he ran well. He did run well. I mean, Longfellow, he sort of found his trapping boots once again, and connections will be delighted that he has. He won the Puppy Collar at Oxford last year, did Longfellow. He looked like he was going to probably land the spoils. Rioja Bungle just seemed to lack a little bit of middle, but he managed to fend off the Bocco's Thunder, who was challenging going into the 3rd bend, and he came home over the top to deny Longfellow. In 28.03, won the British Bred Maiden Derby at Newcastle and looked the part. Didn't really happen for him in the Derby, but he's back in the groove and no mileage on the clock, Dave.
No, very lightly raced, and yeah, lots to like about his attitude there. Right, this was some effort, and it has been some effort from John Mullins and his team to get Iams of Sydney back on the track. Came into this competition having actually not raced since the Derby, crashed out the first round. And John Mullins' charge here, very versatile. He's got big clocks on his card over 4 and 6 bends. Now, he does want the inside, Iams of Sydney. He raced from trap 2. Very game performance here. Darley Dig Lake in 6. Very consistent salt. One for the locals here as well. They were the 2 that qualified, 2 and 6. Fastest heat winner as well here at semi-final stage, 28 dead.
Yeah, I mean, he came into this event fresh, and we all know that he's proven over the 4 and 6 bends his Iams of Sydney, and he brought that stamina into play. Darley Dig Lake, as you touched on, one of the leading locals on home soil. He's model of consistency, always gets going out in boxes. puts himself bang into contention. But Irons of Sydney, he tracked cleverly here, and as I say, there's no hiding place. When you get a run at Perry Barr, you can come from off the speed, and Irons of Sydney certainly timed it to perfection.
Yeah, and as I say, great effort from John and his team to get this one back on the track. I'm not entirely sure what the issue was, but he's back flying, and he's going to be very, very hard to beat in this final. Hard to keep out the frame. £10,000 to them. We're very generously sponsored by John Lambe in memory of his father. This is the M Lambe Construction Birmingham Cup. And I already mentioned it at the top of the show, Tony. I thought this was a tough race to even pinpoint the favourite. So we'll have a look at them. Rioja Bungle goes in trap 1 at 6-1. Unanimous Leon at 4s. Longfellow 9-2. Irons of Sydney is just about favourite across the board at 3-1. Then we've got Tricky Wiggles at 8 and Dardy Diglake at 4-1. Now, the reason why I thought this was a tricky race is because if Irons of Sydney was in 1, he would be quite an obvious clear favourite to find. But he's not drawn where he wants to be here, is he?
No, he's not. I mean, the way I looked at this race, 2 needs to lead to win, 3 needs to lead to win, and 6 needs to lead to win. So something's going to have to give. So there's going to be 2 dogs beaten as they emerge out the second bend. Tricky Wiggles has run well in defeat, be looking for the gaps to appear, but I like Rioja Bungle. I'm not necessarily sure he wants to be drawn bang on the rails, the dog, but I think it'll be more helpful than a hindrance, Dave. And his overall clocking, he's getting better with each look round the track. I thought he was the key to this race here, Rioja Bungle, at the prices.
Very tricky. I mean, I put up unanimously on price-wise in the racing post. He's got to the final, but he's going to need a smash break here, and like you say, there's quite a few in here that need to lead. Longfellow, if he doesn't lead at the turn, he's a very short price with me to be finishing last, but he just seems to be putting it together. Now, glad Unanimous Leon's drawn inside him, which gives him a bit of a squeak, but I thought this is a really tricky race. I thought Irons of Sydney, if he was going to be short, it'd be a jolly to get after. I mean, Tricky Wiggles has got a good draw here, but I think probably just lacks a little bit of pace to the turn. He flies down the back, and he's shown that he comes home quite strong. So they were the 2 runners. I like Unanimous Leon and I like Dardy Diglake around the outside, because if 4 steers inside, 6 will have the legs of 5 to the turn. So 6 has to be some sort of runner as well. But very, very good race, and good luck to everyone involved there. It does look like a little bit of a shootout to the corner. The top for Tony, I will go with Unanimous Leon. Hopefully we can get that one over the line for price-wise. Right then, the Staying Classic on Saturday night. We had the 3 semi-finals last weekend. 710 metres. There is no hiding place here. Got to start, got to stay. Long run to the turn, but it is a grueling at 6 bends. There's £20,000 up for grabs. It is this year's St Ledger final, and the defending champion has made it through to the final. Tony, before we look at the semis, that will be the story. He's going to be a short price. He was Grand of the Year last year. He won the St Ledger. He's won a number of competitions, but of course, no Greyhound has ever won more than 1 St Ledger, and of course, no Greyhound has ever successfully defended it.
No, and if any dog's going to do it, then it's going to be Droopy's Clue. I mean, he came into this event a worthy, short-priced anti-post favourite. Absolutely ploughed through the holding conditions in the first round, but a bit more hair and scare him in the semi-finals, but remains the one to beat.
Yeah, we'll have a look at that then. I'd describe it as workmanlike, I think, but we'll get to that. Right, first semi-final then. We're looking at Hurry Up Jordan in trap 6 for John Lambe, and Kunoff Crow going in trap 1 here. Now, unfortunate injury picked up by Lively. Lauren spoke to her owner, Joe Andrews, who was quite happy for us to show the replay. A muscular injury there, so she's going to have a little bit of time off the track, but she did complete. Hopefully, you know, she'll be back on the track. She's a class act over 4 and 6 bends. Mrs. Doyle turned in the traps as well here, but it was Hurry Up Jordan in trap 6, who is a real solid type. Was always going to get his draw out wide in trap 6. And Kunoff Crow, of course, won the Ladbrokes Kent St Ledger, won the Grand Prix last year. Been there, done it, got the T-shirt, and crucially, will stay the trip strongly.
Yeah, I mean, all credit to Kunoff Crow. I mean, as you say, been there, worn a T-shirt. What a CV. Golden Jacket finalist as well. She really thrives in competitions. But this Hurry Up Jordan, he again, was off the card, but it's not an easy feat, really, to be off the card and go straight over and test in 7:10. You'd think he'd have a couple of races on with the 4 bends under his belt, but he's always had a bit of speed about him. He's got the ability to quicken up at a vital stage of a race. And, I mean, although the times haven't been anything out of the ordinary, he's in the final and he's got his draw.
43.12, the winning time there from Hurry Up Jordan. We'll now move on to the defending champion, Droopy's Clue. It was a 15 lengths winner in the opening round. It wasn't quite 15 lengths between himself and Tricky Cinderella here. Run a monster race in Trap 4. There are your two qualifiers. Miles clear on the clock, though, 42.74. What did you make of this, Tony, from Droopy's Clue?
Well, I mean, when he hit the front of the third bend, you just expected him to go away and win by a wide margin. But the racing for the Ledger and the Birmingham Cup, it was like it was a force field holding all the dogs together. It was nothing won by a wide margin. It was like the unanimous Leon dog did, but that was only because of the trouble at the third bend. But I mean, I don't know whether it was Cinderella wanted to go to the ball. She certainly had a real game head on that day. But I don't know, the Droopy's Clue dog, whether he was saving a bit for himself. I mean, you've got to take into account these dogs ran on extreme, terrible weather last week. It can take a bit out of a dog, but he sort of asserted his authority, showed that he is the class act and got the job done, Dave.
Yeah, he is ground racing star. You know, everyone wants to win a derby and it's all about the pace over 4 bends. But, you know, should he go on to successfully defend the St. Ledger, perhaps in devastating fashion like he did in the first round, this is a dog that should be just pushed to the fore. And just look at this dog. Like, he's just, I keep describing him as relentless, but he really is. Like, he keeps going, doesn't he? He's fast and he keeps going.
He's a monster of a dog. I mean, look at his CV, 43 races, 28 wins, runner-up 7 times, proven over 4 and 6 bends. What more can you say? He hasn't got anything to prove, but could go down in history on Saturday, Dave.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that. He went through to the final. He was fastest on the clock. Now, this was quite a painful viewing here. I gave Clona Curley a big mention on last week's show, and I didn't pull the trigger. But Kevin Boothby and Diane Henry's charge I thought was really, really good here. And I spoke to Kevin Boothby earlier in the week, and he said, you know, this is a dog that you forget how lightly raced he is. He's a baby. He's still learning what the game's all about over 6 bends as well. He did the business here in Trap 4, 42.92. And Tuano Bella, it was a speedy sort for Paul Donovan, also qualified.
Yeah, obviously we saw Clona Curley. I think you put him up to win the Northern Puppy Derby, Dave, at Newcastle when he first arrived on the scene. And he didn't really progress. I know he got to the Monmore Puppy Derby final, but he was making himself turning in nearer last than first. So the decision to step him up to 6 bends was always going to come. And he's coped well with it. It's not been a smooth transition, but it's been a reasonable one. And he's shown, if he can get it right at the boxes, how much all-round pace he does have. I was a little bit disappointed with my selection in this race, Magical Luna. She turned handy, loitering with intent, and I was expecting her to surge and quicken up in the latter stages, but it never come. And Tuono Bella ended up coming with a renewed run at Clona Curley, but Clona Curley just managed to hold on. Yeah,
very strange race, this one, because at halfway I just thought, well, Magical Luna's going to be in the final and probably come through and win this, but yeah, the effort just almost seemed to peter out a little bit.
Yeah, again, it was. Sometimes you get nights where you're watching a racing and it's like you can't quite put your finger on what was going on, because there was no wide margin winners, but it's all about qualifying, and Clona Curley and Tuono Bella had a tremendous buckle. It was a fascinating race, but not for punters who backed the third.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I confess, I messaged Steve Graham, who's the man on commentary, top commentator, and, you know, Steve knows the game. And I messaged him saying, you know, hair okay, like a different hair driver, and he thought everything all good. And I'm glad to hear that Steve will be on comms on Saturday night as well. But yeah, it was, some of the racing was bizarre. That race in particular, I was amazed that Magical Luna didn't get there. She's won over 900 metres. But Clona Curley and Tuano Bella go marching on, and we'll now have a look at the final. This will be at 9:52 on Saturday night at Perry Barr. It's a late one, but it's the biggest stand race of the year. Droopy's Clue on the inside at 2-5. Coonoff Crow 10s. Tuano Bella in Trap 3 at 14s. Clona Curley 10s. Tricky Cinderella 16s. And Hurry Up Jordan at 14-1. I think one will just make all. Tony, anything else to add?
Yeah, as I said from the beginning, there's nothing that can hold Droopy's Clue up in the sprint leg of this race. Even whatever draw he gets, he's got the pace to put himself in the whole position by the third bend. I think he dominates the inside, and just the relentless gallop breaks the hearts of them. if it's going to be a private battle for second, maybe Kuna Crow will get a toe round in behind Droopy's Clue. But yeah, it's fascinating racing. Hopefully it's a clean run race and the best dog wins.
Yeah, I mean, what I will say is, I think if Droopy's Clue had been drawn on the outside of Tuano Bella, I know he's a big, burly, powerful dog, but she still might have been a presence up his inside. But he's got the inside line, long run to the turn. And, Seamus Cairo, when I spoke to him after the first round, he said this dog's tailor-made for the 710 because the long run to the turn just enables him to show his pace and get away from the stayers. And then he just keeps going. So he's got the inside line. He's 2-5. Tony's going to go with 2 for the forecast. I'm inclined to agree as well, because I think if Droopy's Clue does pace up and lead, then Kuna Crow will surely just be able to slot on the rail in behind him. And we know she stays very, very strongly. But history could be made. 9:52 on Saturday night. That's the St Ledger final. The defending champion goes in trap 1. He's odds on, and it's never been defended before. So we look forward to that. Best of luck to everyone involved. Right. Before all the brilliant racing on Friday and Saturday night, there's also big open racing on Thursday and Wednesday night this week. It is relentless this week. We're going to start with the British breds, and it will take centre stage on Thursday. And we're going to look at the BGBF 2-year-old British bred produce stakes, £10,000 to the winner. We're going to have a look at the fastest semi-final winner last week. But I want you to keep an eye on trap 4, Union Rebel. He finishes second in the black jacket, very slow away, but just watch the pace to the turn of Union Rebel here. Romeo Crusade was the winner, doing the business in really good style for Dave Firmage and Tom Hilbron. Union Rebel was the other qualifier in trap 4, along with, of course, there was 3 that went through. Southfield Petal in trap 5. Romeo Crusade, I think he won the Puppy Cup, didn't he? With Dave Mullins. Now, Change Kennel, owned and bred by Dave Firmage, a huge supporter of the sport. And he was very professional here, Tony.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he's traded blows with Union Rebel in recent weeks, but he got the drop out of the boxes. And once he led, it was always going to be uphill task for the others because he does sustain a strong gallop. But yeah, keep an eye on Union Rebel. Got ferocious early paces, Kevin Hutton's dog, and there's all to play for in the final. But Romeo Crusade, 28-16, he's been pretty consistent over this 4.76 metres, Dave.
Yeah, he's a nice type, isn't he? He's a really, really nice type. And the 4.76 at Swindon is all about pace, really. I think it's a great circuit. You can come from off the back, but I've always had Swindon sort of pigeonholed a little bit as a bit of a speed track. A number of times we saw maybe the Oaks and, Arcs and whatever competitions that have been run at Swindon. I've always had it down as a bit of a speed track. And this race, I think, might just prove that, because we'll have a look at the draw for the final now. It'll be the 8:44 at Swindon on Thursday night, and it's one of them, isn't it? That I think if you find the leader, the dog that enters the back straight first, I think you're probably going to find the winner. Keyfield Goose on the inside for Phil Milner at 11-2, probably the one dog that doesn't need to lead. Romeo Cypher goes in trap 2 at 5-1 for Tom Hilbron. Romeo Crusade at 5-2, we just saw winning, goes in trap 3 for Tom Hilbron. And then the other 3 are all trained by Kevin Hutton. Southfield Poppy at 4s, Union Rebel 5-2, Southfield Petal at 6s. I probably gave the game away a little bit when we were looking at the semi-final, because I'm very keen on Union Rebel. I think if this dog gets a level break, his pace will take him to the front, and I think he'll make all. A dog that broke the track record at Oxford over the 450. Early pace can win the race for me. Do you concur, Tony?
I do, and the reason why, I think it could be team tactics here, because Union Rebel's got a lovely draw. Southfield Poppy in trap 4, she's going to be looking to edge across. She's got good early pace herself. I think she'll lean over Romeo Crusade, and you think, oh, she's only a bitch. She's big as Romeo Crusade. She's 34 kilos. So she's going to be a real obstacle if she comes away. I think 4 and 3 could crowd up. 2 could even get involved in the mix on the run to the turn. I think 5 leads, and I think 1 will run a big race on the inside, might even finish second, Red. But my play here would be 5 to beat 1.
Yeah, good stuff. Union Rebel from the front. Another big race, another big night down at Swindon for Kevin Hutton, who's had so much success there with Oaks, etc. in the past. And I think he'd be set for more success. Right, and we've gone kind of reverse chronological order, but Wednesday night, £15,000 up for grabs. One of the biggest four-ben races of the year. It is the Click Competitions East Anglian Derby final. We're going to have a look at the fastest semi-final winner from last week, Murray and Cozy for Richard Fitch. First Category 1 finalist for Richard. This is going to be a really special night for them. 27.55. Get Up Me Son in Trap 5. The other qualifiers, the 4 and 5 here. Didn't really know too much about Richard and his story. He took over from his father-in-law, Max Alden. They've only had this one in the kennel for 4 months. What a story, Tony.
Yeah, he's settled in really well. I mean, obviously came over with intentions of making waves, and boy, has he done so. He's got better and better, really, Dave. That was a PB last week when winning that semi-final. And what I liked about him, he found more when challenged. Like, Yarmouth is a tricky track, and it's a bit like the Twilight Zone at sometimes. You just think dogs, the short runners get into the race going into the third bend, but I like the way he did reassert. My worry for him here, though, he's got Trumper's Bobcat on the immediate inside, far from certain to clear. And I mean, Druid Sago has got a plot draw for Patrick Yanston's on the inside. Obviously, Patrick had one paw on this event in the last couple of years. Koulibaly Shadow was 4 on and 2 on and was turned over. But I do think the makeup for Druid Sago is perfect, and she can do the business when it counts.
Yeah, let's look at the draw then, and she's going to be odds on, no doubt about this. What a draw it is. Druid Sago goes in trap 1, 4-6. Trumper's Bobcat, who's definitely going to move middle for me, 22-1 in trap 2. Murray and Cozy at 5s. Nowhere to go, 20. Swift Depot, 5-1. Get Up Me Son at 9-1. She's 4-6. In my eyes, she could have been shorter. Here, Tony, it's the 9:04 on Wednesday night. It's the feature race on the card at Yarmouth. I know you was very, very keen on Druid Sago. I think you put up Druid Sago anti-post before the prices were even out. But it's there for her to win it, right? Yeah,
she's 12-1 biggest. She was 10s freely available. But, yeah, I think she'll be shorter than 4-6 on the night. I just think she's got a great makeup. Don't rule out a big run from nowhere to go. I mean, the unfortunate thing might live up to namesake and have nowhere to go around the first 2 bends. But Druid Sago should have a solo on the inside, and I'm glad they stepped her up to a true 4 bends, because her exploits at Romford always suggested that she'd cope over a true 4 bends, and Patrick's got to be delighted with her. If she gets it right at the start, I think she makes the second bend in front, and her second to third pace alone is a potent weapon, Dave.
Yeah, she's got, not only has she got the draw, but she'll obviously relish that long run to the turn at Yarmouth. For me, she's shown, particularly in the first round, late, early pace. She really gets going into the turn, and I think she'll use her draw. And as Tony mentioned, she flies down the back as well. So maybe, you know, it's unfinished business with Patrick in the East Anglian Derby. As you mentioned, could have any shadow, was odds on last 2 years. He's got another odds on favourite here, but all points towards Druid Sago. Could have any shadow, never had this draw. You know, he always had to work quite hard in his finals, but he was expected to because he's classy. She's got the draw as well. So 2 strong votes for the odds on favourite in the East Anglian Derby. Right, it is that time then. Best bet of the week. I will kick us off because I'm very strong. We've already mentioned about it on this show. Untold Rufia at Romford. 7-2. That is the bet. I think is supreme value here on the inside. We're going to take on Fire and Ice, who Tony gave a good mention to, and rightly so. But the draw is everything for me in this Puppy Cup semi-final. It's the 8:01 at Romford on Friday night. I think we'll see a better version of this dog switching to the inside. He can put the shoulder in at the turn. I think he can make call over the 400 metres. Tony was sport for choice this week. He can go anywhere. There's open racing, Category 1 finals everywhere you look. Where are you off to for the best bet of the week?
Yeah, I mean, I do like Union Rebel in the Produce Stakes final, but I'm going to go for the Saturday because, like, the show's aired on the middle of the week. We'll go for the weekend, and I'm going to take a chance in the hardest race probably of the night, the Birmingham Cup final. I'm going to be with Rioja Bungle. I'm hoping that 2 beats 3 to the punch. Bit of crowding between 4 and 5 could potentially happen. 6 will be prominent, but if Rioja Bungle can do what he done in the semi and hold his position, I think he can come home and prove too strong at a price.
It will be a price as well. So there you go, Rioja Bungle. Big mention there. And I think probably the toughest race of the week. And Tony's gone head down right in with a draw on the inside. Rioja Bungle in that Birmingham Cup final Saturday night. Reminder, Hoping we're going to see that on Sky Sports Racing. This has been Off the Leash, brought to you by the Racing Post in association with Premier Greyhound Racing. Remember, you can watch all the action behind the red button on Sky Sports Racing. Do remember to enjoy your dog racing this week. Top class action everywhere. Gamble responsibly. We'll see you next time.